Hello again. I am Jason Hahn, and I am back with more manga discussions. We got a couple Screen Rant writers from the comics section, and I am Jason from the video game section. But we all love manga and want to talk about One Punch Man today. Um, well, that's enough about me. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Ben?
Yeah, sure. I'm Ben. I'm a comics writer for Screen Rant. Still pretty new with the company, but and I'm still pretty new to manga in general. I've been reading for like 2 or 3 years now, but compared to some of the other writers we have, uh, that's a very small window of time. But I love manga. I love One Punch Man too. It's one of my favorites, so I'm excited to discuss it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a little new to I guess not so much One Punch Man, but or manga, but the I haven't read the web comic that
Oh
it's
yeah.
all spawned from. My enjoyment is solely from the amazing um, issues that are published on Shonen Jump, and I read some fan subs and all that stuff. But yeah, Carlisle, would you like to talk a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm Carlisle Edmondson. I'm also in the comics section for Screen Rant. I've been there for slightly over a year now, I guess.
Nice.
And in addition to that, I studied film in college. I'm working on a visual novel, and I've previously written some other books, so I know a lot about story structure and visual stuff, and comics just kind of falls right in there. So
Absolutely. All of those things are included in comics. So it sounds like you're in the right place, my friend. Um, but yeah, we're here to just talk about One Punch Man in general today. Some the manga's getting to well, I wouldn't say it's just now getting to some exciting things. It's There's so much going on in the One Punch Man manga right now that I don't know how they could possibly adapt it to anime because this next I think where they left the anime off was right before Guru or Gauro gets captured, and everything from then until now has just been boom boom, like constant. Like I can't imagine where they would be able to end like the anime. They would just have to be able to tell this whole arc, and it would have to be like a 50 episode arc or
that's
something
one
like
of
that.
those things that they people will often complain about it before. They'd be like, "There's not enough for a third season yet. We got to wait till there's way more than enough for a third season. It's just not. There's never been a good place to end a season."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that a lot of like really good mangas have an issue with. I remember when I was reading Attack on Titan after season one took over the world, and I got too anxious and started reading it. Um, Small spoil, it's literally the end of season two, but it was only a few chapters in when Aaron punched the Titan and found out his new like call ability. I was like, that would be an amazing ending to a season. And somebody on Reddit was just like, they wouldn't do that, that's so stupid, like it's only a few episodes in. I really hope that they wouldn't do that because the season would be too short. That's what happened.
Uh,
So but there's so many moments like that that have happened in this arc of One Punch Man that I'm just I don't know if it'll ever get animated because it just seems like such a task now. Um, but
The only
it's
place I can think of where you might want to put an ending is right after. I assume anybody who's listening to this is caught up on the manga otherwise, but right after Tatsumaki defeats Psychos, I think that would be the spot to end it, and then you could have your little post credits with the cadre, the monster executives coming out, and then
yeah,
we deal with that the next season because it's
that's a
definitely been a
great
long time since all that got started.
that's a
yeah.
great that yeah, that'd be perfect because then we have season four. If that's where they ended it, we would have just the things that recently happened that just probably the most shocking moment I've had reading any manga was the first color spread where Homeless Emperor is staring up at the moon.
Oh yeah, that was an
Yeah.
awesome one.
With
That was
God, yeah.
incredible. Like I can't imagine that they actually printed it in color in the weekly Shonen Jumps because the amount of ink that would take.
Yeah,
But
my understanding is that One Punch Man is being published digitally first right now, so they probably weren't worried about the color.
no,
That's
no.
why he's able to do these big spreads sometimes.
It took my breath away. Just the slow descent out of the dark side of the moon, and it's just, I mean, they've kind of had little hints of this overwhelming presence, and of course, we think Saitama just might destroy it in one hit, but I'm really, really curious to see where it goes because everything's been leading up to the Saitama Garu. I almost want to say rematch because they have fought. Um, and I'm really hoping it won't. Yeah, exactly. I'm really hoping it won't be a same repeat. I'm really hoping Saitama will have to be like, oh man, I actually kind of have to try, but then again, that kind of ruins the whole point of.
Yeah, it's like a delicate balance that One Punch Man has to like make, because, and this is why it doesn't focus on Saitama like pretty much at all throughout the Monster Association arc, because like, you know, the premise of the manga is so simple. You know, there's this guy, one punch, take down any enemy, you know. But at the same time, that can easily get stale if it's just sort of him going around taking down enemies, no problem. But if you then make an enemy that, you know, takes more than one punch, it's like, well, what's the point of the premise? The premise is just like, oh, okay, we just cast aside the premise to like make this stronger enemy, right? It's like a power scaling problem. But I think that one has like laid the groundwork for this fight to be more than just like I think of all the enemies we've seen so far, but besides God, of course, I think like
what a sentence.
Yeah. I think Gaara has the greatest chance of like actually withstanding a punch from Saitama because he's been growing throughout this entire arc. He's broken his limiters, or he's in the process of breaking his limiters. There's just been so much build up here. So I could easily see this fight being more than just like beat down.
Yeah, Garo is arguably the protagonist for the last, even going all the way back to stuff that was in season 2, because it's just been following him and his growth far more than it has Saitama.
Yeah,
absolutely, and that's narratively, like story structure wise, it's not something I feel like that they've been able to do because I mean, it's One Punch Man is a parody. It's a parody story on what if, you know, our anime protagonist was already at the height of his power when the story starts. And so they've absolutely had to, you know, dive into the other heroes, the world building, and kind of focus on all that, which goes back to your comment, Ben, on how Saitama has barely been focused on during this whole hero Monster Association arc. And it's just they've spent so much time building up Garo that it would be really odd if they just decided to, you know, keep up the facade, not the facade, but keep up the idea that Saitama is just this unstoppable force. And it's kind of like if you keep that up, then what was the point of all of this character building that you've been doing for not just years, but it's by the time that they get to that in the anime, it's going to be probably 2 or 3 entire seasons of anime dedicated to building up the Garo character. So I really don't know how. I have no idea how this is going to resume because if he just erases Garo from existence, then I was just like, okay, well, that was a fun couple years of getting to know that character. Are they both going to team up against God? I don't know. But I think the webcomic by One is still going. And I think it's so. I mean, they obviously have more to tell after
Yeah,
this.
the Monster Association arc is over in the webcomic, so
Oh wow.
Technically we know how that ends, but like the giant centipede from this recent chapter is not in the webcomic at all. So there's definitely been stuff that's been added and changed.
Yeah, I'm almost curious how much they coordinate together. If One just kind of gave them he's just like, you guys can go ahead and do whatever I've drawn. I wonder if they discuss like, hey, do you think we should add something to this? Because like I know in the case of One Piece, Oda is like a huge uh, he has a big part in the anime. Like a lot of the times they'll throw ideas, or he'll throw ideas at them, just like, hey, I didn't have time to draw this in the manga, but this is what you guys should do for extra backstory in the back and stuff like that. Even in the intros, there's things in the intros that manga people haven't even gotten to. It's really interesting that some fans are able to pick things out of new intros and outros that spoil future manga things. So I don't know if we're getting that with One Punch Man, or if they're just like two separate things entirely. But their whole the way that they're treating it, I couldn't appreciate it anymore. Like they're knocking it out of the park with the artists that they chose to bring this all to life. And I anxiously await to see any time a new chapter's out.
Yeah, Murata is an amazing artist. I think that's definitely one of the things that got a lot of attention to One Punch Man, and it does have that fun contrast with whenever we go back to that original webcomic style. You just got this little cartoony Tatsumaki or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like I think Murata's art is actually, there's sort of like an animated quality to it, where like in some of the fights I read it and it's like I see in my mind, you know, what it looks like animated.
And there are
Which
definitely
is,
some of them in the, especially in some of the earlier chapters, where it's like it's almost like flip book style.
Yeah.
no, and it's just it's really a feat of artistry like that. I think it honestly probably is the best art currently in a Shonen Jump manga.
I
Um,
was
Yeah, I
especially
really
Shonen
can't think of a
Jump.
better one.
Yeah, I think I've actually when I got caught up on Berserk, I was just like, I need to find another manga that has just outstanding art, because it's after you read a little bit of Berserk, you're just like, oh man, my palette is destroyed. Like there's just nothing else like this. And every list I was finding online, people had Berserk and One Punch like in the top 5 of like all-time manga artists. There was a couple other we can talk about some other time, but uh, yeah, just I'm really curious to see where the story goes with One Punch Man. The I at first I thought the idea of introducing King was just really weird and kind of annoying, but now he's almost formed this almost like Usopp uh, level of character achievement, where he keeps telling all these lies and all these things keep happening around him, where it's almost getting to the point where it's like, does he have some sort of luck power?
When I discuss this with my friends a lot of the time, we compare him to Mr. Satan a lot, because
Yes.
he just he gets all the credit. He's not really doing that much of the work, but he is contributing something that actually is valuable. He's not just taking credit for stuff.
All
yeah,
right.
Even though it doesn't really, like, he couldn't have known that he was going to contribute.
yeah. It's like I actually feel like the better One Piece comparisons to Buggy the Clown,
Oh
because
yeah.
King just keeps failing upward, you know, or not even failing upward, but just somehow rising upward, you know, like
Yeah.
he's and I do think it, I mean, it's going to be ambiguous for the entirety of the manga. There's no way they're going to actually come out and say like, oh yes, he has a power, or no, he doesn't have a power, because that would ruin the joke a bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like he has a power. It's just it's too many coincidences on top of each other.
Well,
And
it's
his
good.
heartbeat is abnormally loud. So
Very so loud that monsters were hearing it from like 500 feet away. Um, and that's another thing that I have so much enjoyment from reading his character. And the newest chapter has another great moment, another great King moment. Um, and it's I just have such a kick like seeing how the writer can write him out of this situation. Like most recently, a few chapters ago, when yeah, he's the only one standing in front of Platinum Sperm and Homeless Emperor and all of those guys, and he doesn't know what else to do. He's just stuck there until like somebody trips and they're like, wait, was that him? Like it's almost like a Batman level paranoia sort of thing. Like, and the new Batman movie, that was one of my favorite bits, was the very beginning was criminals like look at a shadow and they think Batman could be there. Like the level of lies and paranoia and rumors about this character have successfully defeated countless enemies without having to actually be there. I it's they just keep making the King character more and more compelling. um, and I really don't want his story to ever end.
Yeah.
um, and but yeah, kind of Carlisle, you brought up the Twisted Tornado character and fight with Psychosis, and yeah, it seems like we might be getting more of. It looks like she's about to get healed, and I don't know if she's done for this arc, but she's done so much. I
Yeah.
don't know what else that they could like do, because I feel like we've seen her max now, and
Oh
it
yeah,
was quite a
they
max.
I think because I was looking back at the beginning of the arc, working on an article yesterday, and
Nice.
they specifically tell her not to just destroy the entire base the second they show up, and that is hilariously what she ends up doing. But God, that was an impressive panel when she's just pulled that entire base out of the ground and spun it all up into that missile that she
Yeah,
just crashes
Yeah.
into the earth. That is some
yeah,
serious destruction.
absolutely. Well, I think the thing that was holding her back from being able to do that was that they still had the hostages that they couldn't figure out where they were. So as soon as they figured that all out, she's just like, okay, protective bubble. Now I can just ravage this area and keep them all safe with my own powers, which is it's wild. It's One Punch Man, uh, just going 100%. It turns everything up to 11, and I love it.
Another interesting thing with her has been getting to see Blast and how she was behaving towards him in particular, and especially with this recent fake out with God pretending to be Blast.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's very interesting.
And it really makes you wonder, like, what sort of things Blast can do, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
it seems like, well, it seems like there's stuff being set up with Blast. Maybe not this next arc, but definitely somewhere down the line. There's going to be going off with Blast and his like interdimensional, team or something.
It's like Cosmic Avengers, like
yeah.
Yeah.
that little panel of us getting to see is like, oh no, I'm with the real heroes, or something along those lines. But again, it kind of reminds me of going back to King. Like we've been proven that some heroes can't necessarily be what their reputation is. So I mean, Blast just came in and just said hi, and was the convenient plot device to bring characters from point A to point B where they needed to be. But we still haven't seen any. He's one of the most mysterious characters in the whole series. I'd say up there with God. That's just it's weird just to be referring to a character as God in this, because it just means there's so many undertones matched with that word. Really curious to see how that all fleshes out. I've been very tempted to start reading the webcomic sometimes, but the art is just so good in the new one. It's a nice treat, and I don't want it to be soiled at all with expectations.
For me, I'm also holding off from reading the webcomic, and it's not actually even about the art for me. It's more about in the manga, they've taken cues from the webcomic and set up what's to come more than the webcomic did. So like there's more groundwork and things to get excited about for upcoming arcs, and it feels more like the manga is like the ultimate realization of like One Punch Man, and the webcomic's almost like a rough draft in a way. So that's why I'm holding off, even though I've heard that the webcomic gets pretty hyped in the upcoming stuff.
And I've heard he's gotten better at drawing too. Like One has kind of developed his skills to like being an actual like mangaka instead of a webcomic now. So I might eventually get into it, but we'll see it. Well, I might at least get through this arc and this huge fight that we're all in, that is now looking like it's about to happen. We might see how it happens after that. But yeah, back to the anime. I've gotten about halfway through season 2, enough to know that the the quality is just not the same as what season 1 was, which is another reason that I see season 3 being a long way off if it ever happens. Because if they somehow got visuals that were similar to what season 1 was for this Monster Association arc, it would it man, I'd probably bleed out my eyeballs. That would just be too wild.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I don't know the most about the anime industry, but I do know that the first season was sort of like lightning in a bottle. A bunch of people passionate about One Punch Man, like very talented people passionate about One Punch Man, all gathered together at Studio Madhouse and sort of did their own thing. But because they're all very talented people, they then moved on to other projects right afterwards, and so that meant if they were going to gather again later, it would take a while to get there. But the sort of people wanting to make the anime didn't want to wait that long, and so they shifted studios and they shifted art directors and everything like that. And that team made the second season, and that's why there's such a difference in visual quality. But because of that, I don't sort of see the sort of passionate creators who made the first season really likely coming back to it and being okay, let's make season 3 now. I know that they made season 2, but we can make the Monster Association arc pretty hype. I don't think that's likely to happen given what happened with season 2. Mm-hmm. And also these people, I think a lot of them have sort of moved on to other things. And so
yeah, I don't have much hope for the same people who made season 1, the same parties to come in, but I'd have to look at Wikipedia right now to see what year season 1 came out on, but it's almost been enough time now where people inspired by the visuals and the amazing quality of season 1 went to college and now want to make anime. I'm hoping the next generation can eventually pick it up, because maybe they're waiting for the arc to finish up with the Garu fight. But yeah, as Carlisle said, that the end of the Psychosis fight would be a great ending for a season. So we'll see what happens. I haven't seen any news updates about them announcing anything about a new One Punch Man, anything. But I'm not quite sure how sales do on Shonen Jump. I mean, I know it's gotten a great following for artists and fans and stuff, but sales wise, that's unfortunately what usually matters on if an anime is going to get picked up for a movie or a new season or something like that. So, and yeah, the windfall of season 2, I think, just broke a lot of fans' hype, I guess. But I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I personally would love it if I'm proven wrong and they make a season 3 that is on par with the original. But
my brain just flashed Hawkeye. Don't give me hope.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of I just read the newest fan sub this morning, and the next chapter is going to be very good. It's very hard to say oh yeah, it's chapter 160 because Shonen Jump has its own order, and who knows how long it's going to take them to translate. Once the fan sub gets done, it seems to take them about a week or 2 for it to officially hit the app and stuff.
And Jump just released the previous chapter yesterday, so
yeah, it's true.
I had posted, I was doing some pitches for that article that chapter getting released in English, and Francesco was like, "Oh, I thought it was a new chapter in Japan," and then the new chapter in Japan was 2 hours later.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm really excited to see I mean, yeah, I just read the newest fan sub, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. But that's another thing. Um, I'm really bad with names. Murata,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
artist. Okay, thank you. Um, what's the difference between the? Is it the same name as the Berserk guy?
No, that's Miura.
Mira. Okay, so we got a T and okay.
Yeah.
My brain reads them very similarly, so
Yeah.
it's my issues. But yeah, I'm really anxious to see the next chapter, even though I'll probably have to wait a little bit. But yeah, any final thoughts on One Punch Man? You guys wanna get out?
Yeah, I don't envy anybody who has to try to adapt Murata's art to anime because you need movie budget, and that's just not likely to happen. On the other hand, Monster Association movie would be incredible.
Yeah.
So maybe Demon Slayer will inspire that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
pacing wise, that would be all over the place. Like
Yeah.
there's so many like good anime movies. Like I'd say even like the Demon Slayer movie. Like even if you hadn't watched the series, like you could still watch it and pacing wise get what's going on and characters, you know, character journeys and all that stuff. But if they did a One Punch Man movie of just the Monster Association arc, oh man, that would be hard for new people to jump into, but fans would be all about it, including me.
Yeah, no, I'd watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I guess my final thoughts are if this thing never gets animated again, I highly encourage any anime fans. And first of all, if you're an anime fan and you've watched this whole thing, what are you doing? You know, read the
Reading's not
manga
hard,
already,
guys.
you know. But yeah, just read the manga in general. Like I think that the manga is better animated than season 2 of One Punch Man.
Yeah, the
which-
still images are better animations than
Yeah,
the
so
anime.
Yeah, the One Punch manga can be a little intimidating sometimes because it'd be like, oh my god, it's like a 70-page chapter, 90-page chapter. Some of those pages just don't have any dialogue on them. They're just beautiful art that's
Yeah.
page after page.
yeah,
Not
Yeah,
as scary as it looks.
Yeah, the art is so good. I spend more time staring at some of those textless pages than I do the pages that are filled with dialogue. There's been more than a couple times where I'm scrolling, reading, and then I have to okay, I have to go back and just stare at that. The creature crawling out of the dark side of the moon was probably the latest version of that for me. But one last thought I had about the Goru relationship with Saitama is the only previous time that Saitama's had to do more than one punch was the end of season 1 and his fight against Boros, the alien conqueror. The huge difference between now and then was Boros was just kind of, he was a couple episodes leading up to his generals and stuff saying like, oh yeah, he's a god, like no one can beat that guy. But we didn't really know much about him. We've spent so much more time with Goru, and that's why it's adding even more ammo to the fire of like he's going to survive more than one punch for sure, but it's just going to be a really weird fight to read, because you want both characters to come out to be represented well, and it's just really it's an odd place for this series to be in, because it's like, do you ruin your whole parody that the show is built on, that Saitama is just invincible, or what's the payoff here for the years of character growth and development for Garu? It's something that I haven't really read before. I mean, the closest thing you could say is maybe Naruto versus Sasuke. Just you understood both of those characters' viewpoints, and so when they did finally duke it out, you're just like, oh man, I don't want to see either of them die, but how is this going to resolve? And I really don't think it's going to have the same resolution as Naruto did. But yeah, well, just from a storytelling point of view, I'm just thrilled that it's gotten to this point, and even more excited to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of like a fight over the very premise of the manga. So
yeah,
it's exciting to see. And
yeah,
I'm
it's
looking forward to it.
Something other series I don't think could ever be able to achieve, because One Punch Man is almost such a commentary on on the whole genre itself. So it's really curious. I'm really, yeah, I've said it many times already. I'm very excited. um, but yeah, this was a lot of fun, guys. I'm hoping that we can, when a new chapter comes out, we'll probably have it be a normal bit. But yeah, at the end of every episode, we'll kind of just do a little bit of a sign off. And if you guys want to, you know, kind of pitch something that you, or plug something that you're working on, or something that you think people should enjoy, like I'm Jason Hahn, and I hope you guys will check out some Screen Rant articles. We've got great video game news, great comic book articles with lots of great commentary from my talented writer friends here. And yeah, Carlisle, if you you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, my big project right now is a visual novel called Elven Revenue Service. If you are, that sounds like something that might be interesting to you. I promise it's not as much boring tax stuff as it sounds like it would be. You could find us on Twitter at Elven Revenue Service.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and post the links, and we'll probably have a picture up on the video right here. And definitely check that out, guys. He's a good writer, and he's got some good stuff for you.
I don't have anything to plug, but I will say if you like One Punch Man, also check out Mob Psycho 100.
Ooh,
Yeah. Very, very good. It's very similar, but it's like, what if One Punch Man, but the main character actually goes through an emotional growth over the course of the series. So
that's actually an anime also that
yeah.
they just, if you want to see insane animation, and they also just have a wild sense of humor that they just nail harder than a lot of other mangas out there. Both dubbed and subbed. So definitely check out Mob Psycho also. Same writer as One Punch Man, actually. I think it's one, right?
Yeah, one.
Okay. So yeah, definitely check out Mob Psycho also. I think season 3 just got announced, which is quite exciting.
Wow.
Also.
It's exciting.
Yeah, season 1's good, season 2's even better, so enjoy that. But again, this is the One Punch Man discussion. The manga, we're still working on titles, but next time you guys hear us talk about One Punch Man, we'll have a new chapter to talk about, and can't wait to see you guys there.